Today is a great, amazing, incredible day, and I'll tell you why. Because it's a Northern Europe Day, so all the countries. The don'ts of visiting Northern Europe. Without further ado, let's get into this reaction. Let's go.
Hello travelers, Mark here with Walter's World. Today we're back in Helsinki, Finland in Northern Europe. And today what we have for you are the don'ts of visiting Northern Europe. And I want to start with this one don't for my Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish friends because they're going to make sure we mention this. And that is, don't think Scandinavia is Northern Europe. Or I should say,
I don't think that now. If I thought that now, after how long have I been learning about Northern Europe? How long have I been learning about Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland? A long time now. So if I were to call Finland Scandinavia, you guys would be very annoyed at me. I know.
Don't think all of Northern Europe is Scandinavia, because Scandinavia, that is Sweden, Norway, and Denmark. No, it does not include Finland. I'm sorry. And no, it doesn't include Iceland or the Baltics. No. Scandinavia is just that part over there. So don't get confused, because the Swedes, the Danes will let you know about it, okay? Another don't I want to mention for you that'll also get a lot of feathers ruffled is don't think the Baltic countries are just Russia Junior. Look, they will not appreciate that. You tell someone in Lithuania they're Russia Junior, you might get punched in the face. Actually, I'm pretty sure you'll get punched in the face. Look,
when it says the Baltic, is that like Estonia and those places?
Go over to Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. It is a whole different vibe than going to Russia. Yes, there is some of that old Soviet architecture that's there, but the culture is different. Yes, you'll hear some Russian when it's spoken there, but honestly, thinking that the Baltics is Russia Junior is wrong. Like, if you go to Estonia, you'll feel more like you're here in Finland than you are anywhere in Russia. Okay. And no matter where you're going in Northern Europe, I got to tell you this, don't miss out on the capitals, because that's why a lot of those cruises just hit the capitals of the Baltics and Northern Europe, because they are wonderful. Whether you're here in Helsinki and you're going to the Kaisma, the Modern Art Museum, which is fantastic, checking out the cathedral here, or going to the Kaupatori, the market when you're here, going to Stockholm and see the Vasa Museum, you know,
so much to see. Obviously, I'm not going to be touching in the Baltics because I haven't been learning about the Baltics, like Estonia, Lithuania, and those places. I haven't actually learned about those. I'm just staying in the Nordics, which is still Northern Europe. But yeah. But I am intrigued. What's Estonia like? Have you been before? If you're Finnish, you've probably been. Let me know in the comment section if it's worth visiting. Maybe
the sunken battleship that's there, and taking all that in, going to see the folk museum that's there, and just kind of taking it all in, going to Oslo, very cool city, very expensive, but I'll talk about that later. Honestly, Tallinn, my goodness, one of the prettiest old towns in all of Europe. Riga, party central. Vilnius is cool as well. And honestly,
Tallinn's in Estonia, no?
The capitals are great. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you want the best old town, go to Tallinn. You want the best party town in Northern Europe, you go to Riga. You want the best all-around experience, go to Stockholm. But honestly, don't pass up on
I'm going to Stockholm, so I have the best all-around experience, so I'm all good.
Capitals here in Northern Europe, because they are great. But as I alluded to, don't think coming to Northern Europe will be cheap, because Scandinavia, you know, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, they're expensive. Finland's expensive. Iceland's expensive. Heck, if you go to Estonia, Estonia's expensive. This is not 1990s Eastern Europe where everything's a nickel. No, Estonia is expensive. Latvia and Lithuania, they're not as affordable as they used to be. So don't think you're going to get by without spending a few coins when you are here. And I think talking about the coins,
I think that's why I've delayed coming, guys. That's why I've delayed coming to Sweden and Denmark and Finland and Norway, because it's expensive. And I think you get higher rates of pay in your countries than we do in the UK. So going there for me is expensive. So I've been delaying, I think. Well, that's not the only reason. Obviously, I've been living in Southeast Asia as well. So yeah, I need to save those pennies for when it gets to summer.
Don't think they're all using the euro, because they're not. Finland, yes.
I made this mistake. I thought you all used the euro, and then I heard, oh no, Swedish krona. I said, Swedish krona? What? What do you mean? You don't use the euro? I was so confused. And then I realized Finland, you do use the euro. And then, is it I think Norway, you use krona? I don't know. I don't know. I just know there's multiple currencies in Northern Europe. It's confusing.
Estonia, yes. Latvia, yes. Lithuania, yes. Sweden, no. Denmark, no. Norway, no. There aren't. So make sure you know that. But one thing I will tell you is don't forget to bring your credit cards, because a lot of places here are contactless payments. You just tap and go kind of stuff.
Which is absolutely fine by me. I'm glad, because it just beats having to like exchange your money every time you go into different countries. It's annoying. That's probably why you use a lot of contactless, because someone that's coming from Finland who wants to shop in Sweden, it's like, imagine having to change your money to krona. Like, it's annoying. But if you've got a contactless card, you can just pay for payments and you don't have to worry about the exchange. And yeah, okay, we're good. I was living in Southeast Asia, so I have a card that can be used in different countries where I don't have to pay loads for like, there's no exchange rate. There's no charge for exchanging money via debit card. So I'm sorted. I'm okay.
You'll be aware of that. So as long as you got your Visa or MasterCard, you're pretty much okay spending a lot of money when you're here. But no matter where you are, whether you're in the backwoods of Lithuania or you're up in Lapland here in Finland, I got to tell you this. Don't miss out on the nature. I mean, rural tourism is a thing if you're going to Latvia, if you're going to Lithuania, going to the sauna when you're here in Finland and going and diving into the lakes afterwards when you come out there, rolling in the snow afterwards, hiking and seeing the fjords. Oh my God, the fjords. Oh my God, they're so beautiful in Norway, seeing the volcano fields and everything in Iceland. I mean, Northern Europe has some of the best nature. So if you want to go hiking, you want to be out in nature, you want to be with your kids, this is a fantastic place, because I got to tell you, don't be afraid to bring your whole family when you come to Northern Europe, because they do a great job of having stuff for everybody. So now we're here in Turku, Finland, and my next stone for you is don't think that all the Northern Europeans all like each other. I mean, if you want to make friends here in Finland, just tell a local that Sweden sucks at hockey and you can make friends.
It doesn't mean you don't like each other. We've been through this before and had this conversation. You do like each other. It's just that, you know, you have a friendly, brotherly, sisterly rivalry. And that's fine. All countries do that, are neighbours. The UK, the Scots take the piss out of the English. The English take the piss out of the Irish. The Irish take the piss out of the English. Like, well, basically, everyone hates the English. And the English just doesn't care because they think they're the number one. So that's how it works in the UK. So I totally get it with Northern Europe as well.
Because there is a lot of rivalry between the countries when you're here. I mean, Danes, they don't really like anybody else anyway, but they're like, whatever, we're better than the Baltics, we're better than the rest of the Scandinavians. No big deal. I mean, you do have that rivalry between...
I get that with the Danes. I feel like the Danes, and it's actually interesting, because the Danes, I think, are very much like the English. I think they're very, very similar, is that like the Danes think that they're better than the rest of the Nordic nations. And I think the English are very similar because they think they're the best out of the British Isles. I think the English are the best. So it's quite funny. And I think the Swedes are probably more like... The Swedes, I think, are more like the Scottish, maybe? Or the Northern English, like me, I'm from the Northern England. I think you're more like the Scots and the Northern English people. You're kind of like in between. You also think you're better than everyone else, but also like a bit more like humble about it, you know?
Between them, like you'll see the Swedes actually making fun of the Norwegians because how expensive it is there. Like, you have that, and it's one of those things that if you say that they're all the same, it's not going to go over well, because they do have that competition kind of stuff. And honestly, kind of going along with that, I think don't think that they're all the same, because there are differences. Even when people say, oh, Sweden and Norway and Denmark and they're all the same thing. No, I've lived in these places. I spent time in these places. I've traveled in these places. I have friends in these places. They are distinctly different cultures and people and ways of life. I mean, there's some similarities, yes, but it really is different. That's why when you do a Baltic tour, you do get a very big, different taste. Like going and hanging out with Lithuania.
I think I'm going to be surprised at the place that I'm going to enjoy the most, because I'm going to be going to so many different cities in each country. So trying out Stockholm, but then maybe going to Malmo, but then maybe going to Gothenburg, or maybe visiting the north of Sweden and stuff like that. I'll be going to so many different areas of Sweden and trying different vibes. I don't know, I might be surprised at where I like. Maybe I don't like Stockholm, or maybe I like Gothenburg instead. Like, who knows? Like, I'm really excited. And I might not even like probably not though. Like, but I never know. I might not even like Sweden. I might like Denmark instead. I might like Finland instead. I kind of doubt it. I do have like a soft spot for all the countries, but who knows which country's gonna be my favorite? I don't know. I'm excited. I think I'm just gonna love. What if I go to Sweden and I go to Finland and I go to Denmark, and what if I want to move there? I am actually a little bit worried. Not worried, but a little bit like, because I've been so obsessed with all the Nordic nations that I might just like go and I'll be like, oh, this is home. This is where I should be. Does that make sense? Because I'm a little bit obsessed. It's a bit weird. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens when I arrive.
Lithuanians versus hanging out with Norwegians versus Danes.
Stay.
I mean, it's 3 different cultures, and so don't think it's all the same. Take that in, because I've heard people say, oh, why do I want to do that Baltic cruise? It's all seeing the same thing. No, it's not. But one thing where it is all the same everywhere is don't wear your shoes inside anyone's home. Whether you're in Lithuania or here in Finland or Norway, look, it's Northern Europe. We have snow. Like, look, lots of snow now, okay? Snow.
Literally, don't worry. We don't wear shoes in my household. I would move the camera, but I just feel like I'm not going to get the camera in the right place again. But to the right, all our shoes are at the door, and we do not come in the house with our shoes on. We just don't do it. And I think it's not just like a country thing. I mean, it's a cultural thing as well. And in my family, we don't do that. It's dirty. Don't bring your dirty shoes inside. But honestly, in the UK, it's not the norm. The majority of the UK, they walk into your house with their shoes on. Say if you had someone coming in to do like some work, like a workman coming to do the electricity, or maybe he's come to do some carpentry in your home, he will walk into your home with his shoes on. And it's the default. They don't think, oh, I need to take my shoes off. I don't understand why, but in the UK it's like that. It's very much the same in America. And that's one thing that the UK has a lot in common with America. And I don't get it personally, because my family, we take our shoes off before we come into the house. So I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Slush, grossness, your shoes get dirty, it's all nasty. Yeah, you don't wear the shoes inside people's houses. That's just a big old no anytime. Another don't I have for you is maybe limit your visits to Northern Europe between November and February, because it's cold, it's dark, it's snowy, it's wet, it is kind of a...
Yeah, you've all told me, I've always like posed this question to you guys. Should I come to Norway, Denmark, Finland, Sweden in the summer, or should I come in the winter? Because I love winter and I love Christmas and I love all the like wintry stuff. But then everyone said, nope, don't do it. Just don't come at this time of the year because it's miserable, it's raining, it's cold, it's dark. Don't do it. Come in the summer, because in the summer, it's amazing. We have like sunlight for a long period of time. And it does make sense. You are correct, because I'm going to be filming, and content-wise, I need light. I need light. So I'll have more time in the day to do stuff and like film stuff. And yeah, it makes sense to come in the summertime. I'm excited to come and experience these long days, because in the UK, we have long days in the summer where the sun doesn't go down until 9 p.m. But like, I know Sweden, I know you guys have, and Finland and Norway, you guys have some long days where the sun hardly ever sets. So I'm interested to see that.
A depressing time. Like I lived in Finland for a year. I lived, almost 4 years in Lithuania. I've spent all this time up here, and when it's dark at 11 o'clock in the morning, and when you get out of school at like 3 in the afternoon, and it's dark and cold and miserable, it gets kind of depressing, and it kind of takes away from it all. So that's why I'm saying, don't come at those times. Come in this.
As you guys know, I'm back in the UK now, and I'm looking outside right now. Like in front of me is outside. And even though it's daytime, I've got some lights on, so it looks like I'm very well lit. But even though it is daytime, the sun's very low in the sky. So even though it rises, it's almost on the way to setting again. I think we've got maybe a couple of more hours of sunlight and it'll set again, because the sun sets at like 4 o'clock or something. So you get really short days. I'm sure it's like way shorter in the Nordic nations, in Scandinavia and the Nordic nations as well. But yeah, it's depressing. You can get seasonal depression, which is not nice when it's cold and it's dark. And I think Europeans, we're very prone to getting this depression. It's actually a problem, and having low vitamin D levels, it's a problem. It's a problem. That's why sometimes we can come across as kind of hard and kind of standoffish to visitors if they come in the wintertime, because, you know, we're lacking vitamin D. But if you come to Europe in the summertime, especially Northern and Western Europe in the summertime, oh my God, we are the happiest people ever, because we don't see the sun often. So when the sun does come, we make the most of it. We go out. We have activities outside. The whole, you know, the whole of Europe comes alive during the summer. So I do know Sweden will be better in the summer. It does make sense. So yeah, I'll come in the summer. Because I know I'll get a better impression of the country during the summertime, and then maybe I'll come back in the winter when the markets open, the Christmas markets and the Christmas stuff. I might come back in Christmas, just for like a short visit, if that makes sense. I think that's what I'll do. I'll come in the summer for like a long period of time, maybe a few weeks, and then I'll come back in the winter time. Yeah, I've decided.
Summer, because you have all the festivals, because don't miss the festivals, because honestly, Northern Europe, they have some of the best festivals, whether it's music, you want to see rock, you know, Rus Rock here in Turku on the islands, you have that, or the Jazz Festival in Lithuania. I mean, there's all kinds of great festivals in the summer times. Midsummer in Sweden, with you run around the poles and you got the hat of flowers on. I mean, there's so many fun things to do, and those festivals are a great time to experience, you know, Northern Europe, but in the summertime, not the winter. And kind of going along with that, don't expect to get to bed early in the summer because of those festivals, but also because when it's sunlight until 11:30 at night, sometimes it's a little tough. Like if you're in Iceland, I remember when we went there with Liam and he was little and he's like, I'm not going to bed, the sun's still out. I'm like, dude, it is 11:30 at night, go to bed. Why? It's sunny, and it's like sunny. 3 in the morning, he's wide awake. I mean, yeah, it sometimes can be a little difficult sleeping in the summer times, but it's a good problem to.
Iceland, you know what? Oh my God, Iceland. I don't know, just then I was like, oh man, I haven't actually explored Iceland. And Iceland's like one of the last countries that I've not explored in the Nordic nations. Alexa, what countries are in Nordic nations? By the way, sorry if you've got an Alexa.
The two nations and countries are, of course, the two kingdoms of Israel and Judah.
What? Alexa, what countries are in the Nordic nations?
From wikipedia.org. Especially in English, Scandinavia is sometimes used as a synonym for the Nordic countries.
It's not
but
the same.
That term more properly refers to the three monarchies of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden.
That's incorrect. Did you hear what it said? It says that Scandinavia is synonymous with the Nordic countries. No, it's not. Anyways, Iceland's one of them, and I haven't been to Iceland, and I need been to Iceland. I've not checked out Iceland. I need to check out Iceland. I need to watch some Iceland videos, because that should be part of my trip. It makes sense. It should be part of my trip. Why haven't I? Yeah. Anyways, guys, that's by the by. I need to check out Iceland.
To have. Now, another thing for tourists is you don't really have to worry about learning the local language when you come to Northern Europe. Whether you're hanging out in Finland, or you're going out to Norway, or you're chilling out in Estonia, none of them expect you to know Estonian. Nobody expects you to know Lithuanian or Finnish or Swedish. No, they've all learned English. They speak English very well, and when you're here, it makes it easier for tourists. And that's why I recommend Northern Europe for a lot of tourists for their first trips to Europe. It's like, look, if you're scared of the language barrier and you don't want to do England or Ireland, then go to Scandinavia, go to Northern Europe, there's a lot of English spoken there, because no one expects it. But that's one thing I want to say is, don't be surprised the locals lose their mind if you do know a few words. Like here in Finland, if I just say kiitos, which is thank you, they're like, oh my goodness. When I lived in Lithuania, I'd bust out my Lithuanian like, Jesu Markas, I'm Mark. They're like, whoa, hey, get this man a drink. Isvekata, like cheers. Isvekata in Lithuania is how you say it. Here, kipis for cheers. Skål in Sweden. Learning how to say cheers, you'll make so many friends.
Maybe I should learn. Well, I've been saying I should learn more Swedish. But I was doing really well. I was learning. I had Duolingo and I was doing really, really well. I was beating a lot of people because, Duolingo, you have to you're in competition with other people and stuff on the app. I was doing really well. Like really, really, really well. I will brush up on some Swedish before I go. And I say Swedish because I know I can speak some of the Swedish in Norway as well. Danish, I'm sorry guys, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be able to learn some. But you understand some Swedish. Finnish, I'm sorry, absolutely not. It's such a hard, your language is so hard to learn. And I think you guys know that. And I think that's okay. I love the sound of it though, it's interesting. I love the sound of Finnish. Yeah. I can only learn one language at a time. But I'll learn a few words in Finnish. How about that?
Friends, so don't think you have to know the language when you come, but don't be surprised if it helps out if you do know a few words. And when you do talk to the locals here, one thing I want to say is that don't think Northern Europeans are rude. I find them to be more conservative, not like conservative like in political stuff, but like conservative in terms of reserved, okay? They don't mince words, they don't mix words, they only talk when it's kind of like a conversation thing. They don't branch out. In Denmark, they'll tell you, look,
we don't like small talk. This is what Americans don't understand. We don't like small talk, and for them, they like that casual, almost like fake. Should I say it like that? That's that bad to say? Almost kind of fakeish kind of like conversations. They like small talk. Whereas we actually like to talk with purpose. Like if we only speak if, we need to speak. Like, or, there's an actual conversation to be had. Not like, oh my God, look at the weather today. It's so nice, isn't it? And we don't speak to strangers like that. Like we just don't. We respect people to have their individual space. Is that the word? You know what I mean? Like we don't like to encroach on people's business and like get involved with them. Like we let people just be. And then if we have to have an interaction, we'll have an interaction. But everything's intentional. That's what I meant to say. Everything's intentional with us in Europe. We do things with intention. In Western Europe and Northern Europe, we have interactions and conversations because we want to, not because we have to or we feel we need to or we need to be fake and do unnecessary conversation for the sake of conversation. That's how we are. I'm saying we because I do believe that Scandinavia is very much like the UK. Is very much like Western Europe, like Germany and the Netherlands, where we may come across a bit hard and a bit standoffish to Americans, but we're not. It's just that we have conversation when conversation's needed to have. And that's fine. Basically.
You're not my friend. Why do I care about you? I don't care about your history. I don't care anything about you because you're not my friend. You're not important to me. So you have that kind of thing. So people kind of take it as a rudeness, which sometimes it kind of is, but it's not that they're doing it to be rude. It's more that
it's not rude.
This is my life and that's your life. So what's the big deal? So
yeah.
That's why sometimes it's hard to make friends when you do come to Northern Europe because it is kind of like a shield sometimes that they put up because they don't you don't get as integrated. But I will say this.
It is hard to make friends in Northern Europe. It really is. It is hard. It is hard. It is hard. We don't make it easy. It has to be intentional. If you want to make friends, you really have to put the effort in. You really have to put yourself out there and really crack that shell. I have a friend who I love really dearly. I think about him. And he's from Ireland. And when I met him, I had to literally, we were working together and he was so deadpan and standoffish and had this guard up. But I was like, I really like this guy. I want to get to know him. And I had to chip away, chip away. I'm like, I'm glad I did because he's got this great personality. He's funny and he's a bit of a mess. And now we're friends. And it took effort. It has to be intentional. You have to want to be someone's friend in order for that to happen sometimes, because in Europe we're just very much that. We're not, I guess we're not as open as Americans are, and it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean we're not nice people. It just means you have to work harder to get our trust.
Wherever you go in Northern Europe, once you kind of get through that coldness, that reservedness, they are the most fun people, and they will have some drinks with you. They'll invite you to their homes. They'll have you to their summer houses, their summer cottages, going to the sauna out on the islands here, going to the dachkas, the little cottages outside the villages in Lithuania and Latvia. I mean, that's one of the best things about coming to Northern Europe. You meet those people, seeing those little like summer houses they have in Sweden. It's just a cool, fun thing to do. It was cool if you make the local friends and they invite you to the place, you're gonna have some traditional food, but I think that's one of the don'ts I have to tell you is don't think it's gonna be easy to find traditional food in Northern Europe.
Yes. You know I have to try this soup when I come to Finland. Wait, is this Finland? I think this is Finnish. The Finnish salmon soup. I have to try it.
Europe, because like here in Finland, people kind of like international food, and you're going to, Latvia. They have a huge burger. Like international.
It was going so well, Finland, until they showed me this. I will not be having any of this licorice stuff. Well, I mean, I will for the camera, so you guys can see me be sick. But I'm not looking forward to that. Cinnamon buns, I am, and I'm gonna try a cinnamon bun probably in every single Nordic nation because I know that they sell them everywhere, and it's going to be interesting to see where the cinnamon buns are going to taste the best.
Food, and you're going to, Latvia. They have a huge burger craze. Like, wait, I want to have traditional Latvian food. I want to have traditional Estonian food. I want to have traditional Norwegian food. It's not as easy to find restaurants that really focus on regional foods. Even at hotels, it'll be like, oh, we have Italian, we have Spanish, we have Indonesian food. So that's one of those things. So make sure you ask, where can I get traditional food? Because the locals might be like, why would you want to eat reindeer when we can have tacos? Like, well, I want to have reindeer when I'm here. That's one of those things, right? Because
it's true. Yeah, because you guys do tacos, don't you? Tacos are really big in Sweden, but when I go to Sweden, I want reindeer because you don't get reindeer in the UK. Like you don't get that. So those cinnamon buns look incredible. Oh my god. Wow, I'm hungry.
See, the cinnamon rolls here are fantastic. We eat Danishes in the U.S. because Danish pastries are so good. I want the local food, but yeah, don't think it's gonna be easy to find sometimes. But that's definitely a regional thing. Like if you.
That might be my first meal when I go to Sweden. It has to be meatballs. It has to be.
You go to Lithuania, you'll find plenty of Lithuanian restaurants, but like here in Finland, it's a hit and miss kind of thing. But I will say that don't just go to those capitals. Go into the villages. Go into the towns as well.
I will.
If you want to experience some real traditional living, some traditional foods, that's the best way to do it.
Don't worry, guys. I know you guys are probably worried because I do a lot of videos. That's because only on YouTube there are a lot of videos on the capital cities. But don't worry. When I come to all the countries, all the Nordic countries, I will be venturing out as well a little bit. Not loads, but like the biggest towns, like the most exciting parts, the nicest parts of your countries. I'm going to try my best to just... I know I'm not going to see everything on my trip. But I'm going to do my best to not just stick to the capitals. I will try other places as well. Like I have to go, I'm not just going to go to Helsinki, I'm going to go to Turku. I'm not just going to go to Stockholm, I'm going to go to Gothenburg, maybe Malmo, Copenhagen, Denmark. To be honest, I probably will stay in Copenhagen. Where else is there in Denmark? I'm not being funny, but I just feel like I haven't heard much about any other places in Denmark that I should visit. But maybe I'm wrong. Norway, Oslo, and I don't know if there might be other places as well. I need to learn more of other places I could go to in Norway. I think there are. I think the northern parts of all those countries as well, especially Norway, Denmark and Finland, are very interesting because you have a lot of beautiful sceneries. Oh no, Norway, I have to go to the fjords. I have to. Yeah, I have to. I literally have to. But anyways, yeah, I'm just looking forward to. I'm just looking forward to it. I'm gonna make an effort to see as much as possible on my first visit, and then my second visit, I'll probably like go to other places that I missed that you guys will probably shout in the comment section. So, why didn't you come to this town? I'll do that on my second visit. Okay.
I will say when you do get to have the traditional food. Don't expect a cultural tasty delight when you have traditional food in Northern Europe. Like you'll notice you don't see a lot of Swedish restaurants around the world or Latvian restaurants around the world. You see a lot of Italian restaurants. You see a lot of like Indian restaurants and Mexican restaurants. But yeah, sadly, not too many Finnish restaurants because the food sometimes, you understand why they like their international fare. And as I'm sitting here in a snowstorm...
Well, I will find out whether your food is not good or not. But it looks good. Maybe it's not good to an American because Americans don't really... He can't really talk because Americans don't really have a cuisine. They don't. What's their cuisine? Burgers? I don't know what... Do you know... Could you tell me what an American... could you... I'm being so rude right now. But could you tell me what's American? Like, what's their cuisine? I feel like their cuisine, they're very bit like Britain. Their cuisine is all the other countries around the world. They don't even have their own cuisine. So yeah, I just think that's because he's accustomed to eating food from takeaways and food from other countries. Whereas like in Europe, like the pastries, the simple ingredients, I feel like the fresh ingredients, that's what epitomizes Europe for me, is the fresh single ingredients. There's not a lot of spice, there's not a lot of like things going on, but you've very much single ingredient foods are definitely a thing in Europe. And when you've been living, like me, in Southeast Asia for like 3 years, tasting food that is like, has like 10 different spices and flavors and ingredients, like really overpowering, delicious, but overpowering flavors. When you come back to Europe, you actually appreciate the single ingredient foods, the foods that are very basic, the really good pastry that we have here in Europe. So I'm looking forward to trying Northern Europe food. Why not?
Spring. Another don't I have for you is don't be surprised by the weather. Like, look, you got to look at the 10-day forecast, okay? Because it will change. Like, I was here yesterday. Like, there was no snow here yesterday. I was walking around. I had jeans and a shirt on. No big deal. Now, I can't feel my hands. 1 day later. Luckily, I brought my gloves. I have my hat. I have my winter coat. But that's one of those things. Coming to Northern Europe, the weather can be quite fickle. So make sure you are checking out those forecasts, okay?
In a lot of ways, I'd say it's even more fickle in the UK because we're an island and the Gulf Stream, and we're just very, very changeable. Like yesterday was like -4 degrees, and today is like 6-7 degrees. So that's a massive jump in temperature, just because the wind changed direction, and now we're getting a southerly breeze, and we're getting some warmer air all over the continent. It's weird. It's weird. Very, very changeable. Whereas when I was living in Thailand, it was just 30 degrees plus every single day. It didn't really change much. You have wet season and you have hot season, and that's it, really. It's always hot, but sometimes it rains. That's it. But yeah, whereas you can have like 3 seasons in 1 day in the UK. It can snow, rain, and be sunny in 1 day in the UK.
And now we're here in Stockholm, Sweden. I think there's something you need to know. No matter where you go, whether it's in the Baltics or it's here in Scandinavia or in Finland, anywhere in Northern Europe, one thing you got to realize is don't doubt the national pride, okay? When their sports teams play, when their country teams play, you'll see the Swedes dressed up like Vikings and they'll have their face painted up. You'll see the Danes dressing up. You'll see the Lithuanians in their yellow and their green and everything just cheering on. Lietuva, Lietuva. They go crazy. And the thing is, why is that important for you as a tourist? Because you will have fantastic folk museums here, stuff about their city history, about their country history, and then you have a lot of open air museums to show here's what it's like in all the different parts of our country, and that's what's really cool. Like here, I mean, I'm here in Stockholm, you got Skansen right over there, like literally like 200, 300 meters away.
What's Skansen? That looks interesting. But I'm going to touch on what he said. He said that don't get it twisted. He's telling his Americans, or don't think that they're not patriotic in their country. They really are, and or national pride. Of course, we've got national pride, but the difference between us and the Americans is we don't need to say it all the time. Like God save the Queen and waving our flag. We don't have to do that. We don't do that. You'll know that we're proud of our country when it comes to the time when our national team's playing, when there's a football match on, when there's a coronation and the king's being crowned. Then you'll see all the splendor and the national pride of a country is when something happens. Whereas America, they kind of just constantly talk about being American. They're constantly proud of their country, which is, you know, it's different. Most of the time where in Europe, I feel like we criticize our countries more. But of course, we've got pride in our countries. If we didn't have pride in our countries, if you didn't have pride in your country, you wouldn't be watching this video right now. You're watching this video because you're proud of your country and you want to see me look and enjoy and experience and learn about your country because you're proud to be where you're from. So we all have it. It's just it just manifests in a different way with us than it does with the Americans. So, yeah.
Where I can go and see these old buildings and how things were back in Sweden back in the day. And you have things like that around the country, but also the folk museums and the history museums. You can't miss out. I mean, you see the people's pride, and it's not just the museums. You'll hear it as well. So I will say this, don't be surprised when Northern Europeans have a few drinks and the songs come out, especially at festival time and in the summertime. It's like, yes, we must sing along, and everybody knows the songs. It's kind of a fun thing, so don't be afraid to learn this.
He said Northern Europeans, but it's also Northern and Western Europeans as well. It's the same thing. The chanting and the songs, they come out, man. They really do. Especially the football chants in the UK. When they've had a few to drink, they come out. I'm laughing because I just had a flashback to the many times we've been drinking and then all of a sudden we're chanting the football team of my city, which is funny. It's a very European thing. I do call the UK Western Europe, but the UK is in a weird position because I feel like when we're not quite Northern Europe, but we're not quite Western Europe, we're kind of in between Northern and Western Europe. Are we Northwest Europe? Do you know what I mean? I feel like we could be classed as Northern Europe and we could be classed as Western Europe, just geographically where we're located. It's a weird one, isn't it? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below.
A song to sing along when they start having a few too many, or when the national team is playing. But honestly, don't miss those folk museums when you're here because you'll learn a lot about the culture and the people. And that's what I really want to say is don't skip out on coming to Northern Europe. A lot of people think it's just, oh, I got to see the West, the Parises and Londons. No, the Stockholms, the Copenhagens, the Turkus, the Helsinkis.
I've got to see the West, the Parises, the Londons. So yeah, we're classed as Western Europe. But it's weird because, yeah, we're classed as Western Europe, but I'm from the north of England. So I'm from the northern part of our country, which is probably has more links to Northern Europe. Like culturally, not culturally, but like historically, that's it. Historical ties to Scandinavia. There's a lot more historical ties from where I'm from in the north of England and Scotland than there is for the southern part. But hey, actually no, but the southern part's got ties to Denmark.
Oslo, Bergen, Reykjavik, going to Vilnius, Riga, Sigulda, heading over to the beach of Liepaja and Palanga in Lithuania and Latvia. I mean, you have so many different things you can do in Northern Europe that you probably don't know about because it's not the biggest, most popular place for people to go. Because that's another big thing I want you to realize is don't expect to have a lot of tourists when you're here because then you get to really enjoy the community, you get to enjoy the country, the nature and everything, all right? So what are some other don'ts you have about visiting Northern Europe? Please put in the comments below so we can have...
Love this video because it's the do's and don'ts. A lot of it is kind of common sense, like it always is. I think I'm ready, guys. Do you know what I mean? I was watching this video and I was like, I'm ready to experience it for myself. I'm ready to go. I've got itchy feet. I've got to start planning to visit because I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Until the next one, I will see you very soon.